I love stick. What's the trick?
As my music starts to fade out, welcome back. So my name again is Anthony Morrissey. I'm the founder and CEO of Sports Consultancy, AMSC. Sports Consultancy with a little bit of a difference. But again, I'll go in and talk about that later on at the end of the day. That's not really necessarily why you want to come and talk to me. It's been a fun week for me, and I'm recording this just after Ireland's game against South Africa in the World Cup. And what's a sensational performance and just overall event. And again, just look at it from a commercial hat on that and look to see how you actually go about promote yourself within that, because that was creating an event, creating a movement, and creating a conversation right across the board, not just in Ireland, but around the world. And it's definitely something to be talked about at a later on stage. Today, I have a fantastic guest for you today. As everybody knows, I live out here in Gothenburg in Sweden, and even in Sweden, athletics is king. It's one of the major sports around the place. So we get to see all the world championships and all the gold events that go on and everything that comes connected to it. And I was so proud being Irish over here to watch some of the athletes that took part in this year's world championships that was done in Hungary. And it was made me so proud to see them all delighted, and it was young and powerful stuff. So when I was looking to see who do I want to get talking on my vlog, I said, well, let's talk to the person who's basically at the top of that tree. I'm delighted to welcome Hamish Adams, CEO of Athletics Ireland. Hamish, how are you doing?
Good, Anthony. Great to be here. And look, it's a long time ago since we were colleagues working at Munster Rugby. So great to be talking again and catching up.
Yeah, it's great that we've kind of gone that whole different kind of direction of what everything goes. And it's brilliant then to get back talking to people who have a passion for sport and have a passion and understanding for longevity in sport. And before I get into that, and I will talk about the Munster Rugby angle, but before I get into that conversation, let's go right back to you when you first started up in New Zealand. And where did your own personal passion for sport come from?
Yeah, look, I think like many young kids all over the world, loved sport, grew up, played a bit of everything. Rugby was my passion, played a lot of rugby. I was decent at it. I was certainly no star, but enjoyed it and played a bit of provincial rugby and traveled with rugby and ended up overseas playing as a semi-professional and then a professional for a while, then graduated into coaching and then ended up back in New Zealand working with the New Zealand Rugby Union. Loved it, and it's just gone from there. So ended up traveling to the UK, met my wife who's Irish, and then like all Irish women, she dragged me back to Ireland. No escaping, and developed through Munster Rugby and then Irish Rugby, the Players Association, and subsequently ended up CEO in Rowing Ireland for 5-6 years, and now CEO in Athletics Ireland for nearly 6 years as well. So look, it's like any business, the business of sport, there's opportunities that are presented, and it's a matter of grabbing them with two hands and running with them at this stage, as opposed to rowing with them or catching the ball.
Yeah, you have to learn the different things to say now as well.
Exactly.
From changing from a rugby ball to a row onto athletics. From your perspective, from going on the field with semi-professional and training rugby players, essentially to go and perform at the end of the week when they play a game, what lessons do you think you've learned from those experiences, playing sport, physically being involved in either playing or coaching it, that you can then take on and have taken on to your role as CEO, both in rowing and then obviously now in athletics?
Yeah, look, I think planning and preparation are key, at whatever level you're operating at, Anthony. You've got to have a plan. You've got to work towards that plan. Look, you've got to adjust because nothing ever goes according to plan. And I think also you've got to do it with the right values and culture, That's a big part of what I do. I think, look, I think we operate with integrity and we operate with fairness, and people respect that when you're fair, So I think that culture that you create within whatever environment you're working is key. And so look, I'd encourage anyone working in any business that always be true to your values and culture, and create that culture of inclusiveness and seeking feedback and working hard. You know, look, whether you're a player on the pitch, we saw it on Saturday night with the Irish team. You know, they worked so hard for each other. You know, it was an incredible match because of the intensity and the work rate. And look, bring that into business. You know.
Yeah, I remember my father used to say to me that he didn't care what I wanted to be when I was growing up. I wanted to be a bin man, be the best bin man.
Yeah.
Go find out who the best bin man is and try to emulate that person or get better. And I think what I've seen, I remember when I first walked into Munster Rugby, we had a staff meeting, and it was all the staff, so players, commercial staff, every member of staff. And I found it amazing how open and honest the players were and the coaches of the team in that meeting. So I'd have been used to coming from business where it would have been a little bit softly and don't annoy anybody. Within the team environment, it was almost brutal. It was very much honesty, and they wanted to get better and they wanted to improve.
Yeah.
I asked Billy Holland in one of the vlogs previously, where Billy spoke about how players are, and well, mainly players he was speaking about, that they're a really important level to go on in their business career. They're really good to have within your company because they're goal driven, they're focus driven, and they understand attacking those goals. Would you have seen, when you moved into your CEO role, a little bit of having to change how you had approached previous roles within Munster Rugby, the academy side, or within New Zealand, to go into the boardroom that would have to, not the boardroom, but go into an organisation that didn't have people who would have been potentially driven in the same way as they are now?
Yeah, look, I think there's, vast differences between sports, you know, and there's a vast difference between professional sport and Olympic sport. And it's not to say that, look, everyone in there is very committed and hardworking and trying to do their best, but professional sport has money and resources, and it has people. Olympic sport doesn't. Look, we're still playing massive catch up. So you've got to, Olympic sport, you've got to do a lot more with a lot less, because you're obviously trying to do all the things that Munster Rugby do in a professional environment. So look, you know, Munster Rugby probably has 60, 70 professional players between the squad and the academy, but it's also got 60 or 70 professional staff servicing, you know, so it's a ratio of about 1-to-1. Look, we are nowhere near that level of staffing. We'd love to be, but we're simply not. So I think you've also got to be realistic, you know, and but you've got to do your core basics well. And look, it comes back to doing it with the right values, being honest and asking the tough questions, as you say, and working hard for each other. And I think Ireland is really good at that. Ireland buys into a team environment. I know that when our athletics team at whatever level, whether it's under 20s, under 23s, schools, or the senior team, when they come together, they are bonded. You know, there's a strong common bond that everyone wants to do well for each other and supportive of each other, even though they might be competitors on the track or on the field. They certainly buy into it, and I think the sum of the parts is greater than the some of the individuals, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I was unbelievably proud. I said at the start of the show, I was unbelievably proud living in Sweden to see the Irish people, just athletes and in essence professionals, realistically get involved and get really competitive. And I think what's great, again, not living at home, is to see that, and to see also the pride at which they all took in each other. I think there was a beautiful interview with the relay team when they qualified for the final, and they understood their importance of what they had achieved, but also their focus was on getting better and improving and getting to the next level. And I think anyone that looks at athletics in the way they're looking at it now can only be positive. And I'm assuming from your perspective, you must have been unbelievably proud to watch what was happening in the last couple of months.
Oh, definitely. And look, it's not just the last couple of months. I think this is a factor of, you know, our pathway and our system. And, you know, it's also, I have to give Sport Ireland credit. Sport Ireland have continued to invest in us and many other sports, and that incremental investment over many years is starting to pay dividends because our systems are much stronger. We have pathways in place, and we have, like you say, the athletes know that they can compete at world level now. You know, Kira McGee and Rashida Adeleke, you know, world finals, and it's tough to make a world final in athletics. There's 220 countries there representing, every country in the world. It's a genuinely global sport, and athletics is the biggest participation sport in the world. Everyone runs, walks, jumps, throws, and it's really, really tough to get on those podiums. But look, we have athletes that are there or thereabouts, and I think looking forward to the Paris Olympics next year, because so many times we go to these Olympics and we're always in with a shout, but now we are genuinely in with a shout in several events, and that's really, really positive.
And from then the commercialization of that, and looking from your own standpoint, where you're sitting there going, okay, we've got these youth coming up, and that our pathway is created, and that as you said, Sports Ireland, and everyone seems to be getting on board to what it is we're looking to do, and there's a confidence around the Irish athletics team that's coming through, and I'm assuming that's helping. When one does really well, everybody else wants to grow that. It kind of like lifts, a tide lifts all ships, really. What is, from a commercial side, is the sponsors' importance to buy into that kind of growth and feeling of progression? Is that something, when you're looking at a sponsor category, does that cross your mind as well, to make sure you match the sponsor with the player, or with the participant or the sport? Is that something you look to do as well?
Yeah, look, it's hugely important, and I think look, we have a brilliant partner. It's more than, I think 123.ie are more than a partner. They're almost part of us at this stage in terms of their activation, and look, they're side by side with us, almost running down that finish straight together. And you've seen the activation even at the World Championships recently with Virgin Media as well. Virgin Media were fantastic partners, and I think that alignment between ourselves and our commercial partners is very, very important. It's certainly it's nice to have partners and who put in a check, but to really make it win-win, it requires a massive investment and a synergy of values and cultures by both organizations. And I know you're big into that as well. And certainly we're living that at the moment with 123.ie. So look, we're constantly reinforcing the value to our members of supporting 123.ie as well. And that's really important.
Yeah, I think the days of people handing over checks commercially and just going, can I get my signs on the logo? Can I get my logo on your website? And can I get 2 social media posts a year? They're gone. I think everything is unique, and everything is unique to the sport and unique to the sponsor. And I think the synergies that sponsors are seeing now with the likes of, they want their staff as well. I think this is the newest area that I've seen, where a lot of sponsors want their staff to feel happy that they're promoting something that is successful and that is bigger than themselves. I think you saw that with the Irish soccer team at the Soccer World Cup, the women's team recently, that everyone knew when they were going down to Australia, they may not be the favourites to win the tournament, but it was bigger than that. It wasn't just about them. It was them participating and how they sold into that, and the importance of girls' sport. We spoke about some of the future coming through in women's sport or women's athletics, and there seems to be a lot of them being girls and women. I'm not saying that the blokes like Thomas Barr aren't big shots again for 2024, but it's more about the women that are coming through. Why do you think that is in athletics specifically?
I don't know if there's any one particular reason, but I think, look, we've been a gender balanced sport forever, basically, and look, I think there's just great opportunities there, and the ladies have really put their hands up and are saying to the guys, come on, follow us, and that's fantastic. I think, look, we've also had a big emphasis on women in sport, so I think there's great opportunities not only for our athletes, but for coaches, for administrators. We have a gender balanced board. Most of our committee structures are all gender balanced as well. And look, I think, and we're seeing that in the performances of the women at this point in time. So look, it's I'd like to think that the guys won't be left behind, though, and let's throw it back at them as well in terms of, hey guys, stick on the coattails of the girls here and step up. Yeah, I
think that's the best part I love about this, is that you want those kind of one achieves really well, and if I'm sitting at home, or if I'm about to run the next day, I want to sit there and go, yeah, I want a bit of that, I want to taste that, because every sports person is competitive themselves and they want to grow. And I really liked your point earlier on about the team as Team Ireland, kind of combining together, that helps everybody grow and helps everybody achieve.
And I think that's part of the culture as well, Anthony, in that, you know, look, our men and women train together all the time on the track, whether it's jumping, throwing on the field. So we don't differentiate between men and women. You're all in it together, you know. And I think that's really, and several people have said to me over the years that that's something they really like about their kids in the club, you know, because they're all mixed, they're all training together, they socialize together, and those barriers are broken down. So that's a really nice part of our sport.
Just on that about the club, because again, across most sports, sometimes the club gets forgotten about a little bit. That it's like that sometimes people think of sport as the elite people. You spoke about Sarah and people like that they're the elite level of where they're going to. But sometimes sport is about is about getting out there and participating and being part of something bigger than just yourself. And it can be good for kids socializing, but it can be good for parents socializing, especially post-COVID. When it comes to your clubs, I know you've over 600. Am I right? I could be wrong. Could be even more.
Sorry, no, about 360. Clubs
Sorry, my apologies.
Across the island, yeah. So, yeah, massively important component of everything we do. You know, look, we're communicating with the clubs on a daily basis in terms of, you know, every time we get together as a staff, we talk about our membership, and we are a club-based organisation, and you can never forget that, because look, even though we see our high-profile athletes in the media and the World Championships, that is only the tip of the iceberg. You know, we have 65,000 members, 360 clubs. So we're a big organization, and, you know, we need to cater for all the requirements across the clubs and our membership. So, you know, I don't think anyone should ever lose sight of that. And in fact, something, you know, one of the points I wanted to make in terms of running an NGB, you know, I have a simple metric, and four M's. The first one, membership, you know, that you can judge yourself on, and we're fortunate our membership's continuing to grow. We've got the largest membership we've ever had this year. The second M we spoke about, resources, money. You know, you can never forget about the money and the income, and because look, yeah, you have to have that money to drive programs and have people on board to run the organization. Medals, we spoke about high performance, you know, that's really important for selling the sport. And so we're doing very well there. And the final M is marketing. You've got to sell your sport well. And look, we've invested heavily in that area, and, you know, with fantastic partners like 123.ie, with the stories through our sport. So look, we're in a healthy place at the moment. We've worked hard to get there, you know, with those four M's. It doesn't happen by accident. But it also, you can't forget the importance of the club system with the membership, as we were just talking about. So because, look, you and I both worked in Munster Rugby, and the clubs are hugely important and a strong influence on the whole scenario down there.
Yeah, I think it was. I've loads. I could be here all day talking about the stories of some of the clubs I used to get. I just get some very funny phone calls where I'd be phone calls saying I'm membership number 121212, and I would expect to know exactly who that was. And that's a beauty. I just find it funny, but it's a beautiful little link and connection into so everybody understands they're part of something bigger than just themselves, and it also goes into the family element to it as well, and the stories that can be created by brands and by sponsors. Whether that be 123 or whether that be any of your other partners, where there's a story built behind it that can do, because a lot of the way sport is moving now is towards creating those moments, and those moments may not be the ones that have the gold medal on the podium or anything like that, but as you said a second ago, it's one of your M's. It's the selling of the sport. And the selling of the sport potentially comes from the family links, because at the end of the day, when these athletes were at 7, 8, 9, and 10, it was usually their parents or members of their family who were driving them all around the countryside, not getting any of the plaudits, getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get in the car, drive somewhere and prevent themselves from enjoying it. So I think the storyboard there from a branding perspective, when brands come and talk to you about it, I would assume that the families and the link into that whole, as you said regularly, that culture, that's really important for you to make sure that they feed into that too.
Yeah, it's massively important. And I think the biggest challenge we have in athletics, because of the depth and breadth of our sport, is covering all those stories, you know. It's impossible in terms of, you know, at the moment there's a European Masters Championships on, and we've had several medal winners there already. You know, there's a story behind every one of them, you know, from the World Championships to the clubs to schools, primary schools, secondary schools. We have huge programs. You know, there's over 200,000 kids a day taking part in a primary school program we run. So, you know, the depth of our experience and reach is massive, which is really positive as well, because we're contributing directly to the health of the nation, which is one of our goals as well.
Yeah, I think that's something that can't be underestimated, the importance of kids getting out, or adults getting out and running. Because you may not be able to afford, if you're horse racing, you may not be able to afford to get all the equipment, or even if you're a rugby player, you may not feel comfortable playing the sport or whatever that may be, or not be able to physically do it. But to get athletics, you can get out and run, you can get out and move, you can get out and participate.
Yeah, you can run after the bus, you can, you know,
exactly.
Look, we're all doing it every single day.
Yeah, brilliant. Just moving on to kind of the last section I'm going to speak about, which is the future of sport. And we've had a lot of people talking about this. And I must admit, I got to hold my hands up. When I started doing the vlog series, I was always speaking about the future of sport being women's sport. And I got pointed out to me very, very smartly by one of our guests that women's sport is the present. It's not the future. It's right now. It's happening right now. So I don't include that as being the obvious answer per se. But instead, it's more a case of, where do you see, it may be the commercialization part, or it may be just the actual sporting part. Where do you see the future of sport going over the next couple of years?
Do you know what? It's challenging. I think sport is at a crossroads. You know, if you looked at participation levels, they've dipped a bit. I see it myself. The university I attended in New Zealand years ago had approximately 25 rugby teams when I was there. It's now got 4, you know, and wow, that's what we're dealing with. So I think, for me, I think the future of sport is around activity and movement, and making it readily available, and encouraging people to do it, because, you know, look, we've all got to move, you know. There's some horrific stats out there at the moment around the health of the nation, and we need to really, really keep work at it and keep things going. So that's a big part of what we do as well. I think the other component that's probably we're very focused on at the moment is digitization. You know, everything's digitized now. We're on a journey. Look, we're reasonably long way along that journey. There's some really exciting things happening. Everyone's in that digital space now, and I think that I think there's a lot of development to come in that space. Yeah, you know, look, at some stage in the future, we'll probably all be wearing wearable technology that's given us feedback on our health status in some shape or form. And look, that's, you know, look, we've got to roll with change. You know, change is inevitable, and the only constant, the old saying, you know, change is constant, so you've got to keep adapting.
Yeah, look, I couldn't go any further without saying about the future coming for Athletics Ireland and the Paris Olympics. I know myself personally, I lived in London in 2012 when the Olympics was going on there, and to say it was a unique experience that I've never ever been seen anywhere since. Just the amount of countries that were there, the amount of the passion, the pride, the unbelievable joy of participating in it as much as winning in it. While every other kind of world championships I've been to or sporting level, it's always been about the winning. And what's it like from you as a CEO of Athletics Ireland to go to an Olympic Games? And is it exactly what I've just said it like, or is it a little bit different for you from a working perspective?
Do you know what? From a working perspective, I won't be at the Games. And the reason why is you're too busy in the office, you know, with all the periphery issues that come up with every single Games, you know, and what you find with the athletes are all in the Olympic Village, so you wouldn't get to see them anyway. There's no events on compared to the recent World Athletics Championships in Budapest in Hungary, where World Athletics have a 2-day congress and a convention, several other meetings around the event. So the Olympics is unique. I'll be honest, that's my view. Not all CEOs would agree with that, but I see myself as very much in the office, directing traffic and making sure everything's running smoothly. So that's my role during an Olympics, and it's very, very busy. And as I experienced in rowing in 2016 in Rio, when the O'Donovan brothers brought home a medal. There were 8 or 10 homecoming events to organise, the press associated with that. So, look, it was massively positive role, but it was exceptionally busy. It was just madness at the time, but good madness,
And do you have a scenario where you know exactly where you're going to watch the sports from? So is there an area, either whether that's at home or whether that's in the office, that you keep an eye on what's going on with your athletes? And do you have kind of a schedule that you try and make sure you look as best as you can, obviously?
Definitely,
to make sure you do it.
And saying, yeah, we would look. We have a TV here in the office in 2016 and in Rio when the O'Donovans, there was a group of probably 40 or 50 of us in the boardroom with the projector on, cheering like lunatics, and saying 2021 Tokyo. Tokyo was a bit different, obviously COVID times, so very, very, very different. But certainly every race is tagged and in the diary, and everything's dropped. Watch, see how the athletes perform, and move on.
Yeah, I remember I have a story on when 2012. I worked in London when Katie Taylor won the boxing gold, and I'm from Bray. I lived in Bray for 20 years, and I remember I was streaming it because I wasn't able to watch it live. I was streaming it, and just when the announcement of who won, the stream stopped. So for 20 seconds, I'm looking at a blank screen. I'm screaming at it, and only for the fact it was an open office I worked in, that there was another Irish guy at the other end of the room, and he screamed and jumped. And I think that, for me, shows the passion of moments and the importance of connecting with not just the sport and the person, but with that moment. And I'm sure John, who's the guy who was the Irish guy, he won't forget my reaction, and I don't forget his reaction as well. I think that's the glorious part of sport. And from a commercial side, from a branding side, getting involved in sports like that. If people were interested in talking to Athletics Ireland, how do they get in touch with you, or what's the best way to speak with you guys?
Yeah, look, just go to the website. All our contact details are up there for every staff member, including myself, with an email and a phone number. So look, love to hear from anyone out there. And we do have an exciting new campaign, which will be launched in the next few weeks, actually, that we're in discussions with sponsors at the moment about, which is another property that has become available. So definitely there's always something there.
I'll make sure to put it in the link below as well for people to
Brilliant.
jump on, make it
Thanks
easy
very
for
much,
them to go and
Anthony.
do it. Hamish, thank you so much for your time jumping on today. I really, really do appreciate it. It's fascinating to hear from somebody who's in the coalface. And I just have a vision now of you when the Olympics are on in a dark room, focusing on all these different little bits and pieces. And hopefully you'll be doing loads of homecomings over the next 12 months.
That's the plan. That's the plan.
Goal.
We want to see lots of homecomings with medals.
That's it. That's the way it is. Yeah. Appreciate your time, Hamish. Thank you so much for
Anthony. Involved. Thanks very much. Great to catch up.
Mate. That was a fascinating interview. And again, I don't know what I expected when it comes to the CEO of Athletics Ireland, but you can feel the passion that's there for the sport, but you can also see the roots that are coming through and the optimism that's there about Irish athletics. And as someone who, again, as I said it before, someone who's not living in Ireland, it fills me with so much pride to see so many successful athletes coming through and really challenging the world in what they're looking to do, and not accepting coming fourth, fifth, sixth, or just qualifying. They want to succeed and they want to go and win medals. And hopefully, as he says, in Paris, they go through. From a commercial side of things, I thought it was really fascinating when Hamish was talking about his 4 M's and talking about the membership and the money and the marketing and the medals and the focus that you need to look at all those. And you can take that away into a commercial side, and when you're looking at you're getting involved with sports like Athletics Ireland, you can start thinking about what it is, my culture and my organization and my values for my organization, where that feeds into your sport. as I said earlier with Hamish, it's not important anymore to just go, here's a check. Can I get a couple of tickets? Can I meet this person? Can I get a PR shot? And I'll see you next year. You've got to start thinking about how do you integrate within the organization. And like he says with his great sponsor, 123.ie, how do you make it a synergy between the two so both win? And I think that's really, really important. So again, fascinating conversation. If you want to see more, you can go to our website, amsc.se. That's amsc.se. All the details are in the bottom, and they'll be in my YouTube stories as well. And where you can talk about where I can try and help you guys in matching yourself up with different sponsors when you're a brand or from a club or federation. How do you maximize the most out of what you've got already there? I talked along. I can feel my music is coming in to kick me out. All I can say left is, have a great day. Got yourself.